Okay. Got it.
Welcome to the Taste of Grace podcast, a podcast where women aren't just acknowledged,
But to be truly heard and understood.
Taste of Grace is a space where you're never alone.
You belong here, and we're so excited to share this journey with you.
What's up, fam? Taste of Grace podcast. We're on a journey. Hey, friends. Welcome to the Taste of Grace podcast. I'm your co-host, Blanca.
And I'm Dorka.
And we're here bringing you our latest episode. This episode was I already knew my expectation for this episode was so high just because we had Christine de Gladio, and she's just amazing. So we can't wait for you guys to dive into this episode with us and hear what it's all about.
Yes. Christine, our dear friend, award-winning music artist. She's incredible, has a very powerful story. I cannot wait for you guys to hear all that we were able to discuss. Trust me, it's not one that you want to miss.
Yeah, and she's responsible for even this, joining.
Correct.
She's
if
a
you
part
know
of this.
how we met,
you got to listen to that
Yes,
episode.
you have to listen.
So make sure you guys just tune in. There's so many nuggets in here, so much wisdom that she brings to the table that definitely spoke to my heart and was challenging in all the right ways. But share, subscribe, listen, do it all. Follow us on social media at Taste of Grace and follow her at Christine de Gladio. But definitely tune into the podcast. We are here at the Taste of Grace podcast. This is just the start of us recording our episodes. Mm-hmm. And we are so excited because we have our first guest. We couldn't have planned this any better.
No, we couldn't have. I feel like
es como que Dios es
the best.
Bien bueno.
Yes. Yeah. He really lined it up for us, you guys.
I can't even
talk. You guys, one of our favorite people and friends and someone who is so special to us.
So special.
It could not have worked out or panned out better.
Ladies and gentlemen,
yes.
welcome to the pod. The one and only. Christine de Gladio.
Hey.
Wow. Leyenda. Tenemos leyenda aquí. There's a legend in the house today.
Yes.
A legend of Jesus.
We have to start by saying, number one, the reason that Dorka and I even have a friendship
correct
to this day is because of this woman that you see sitting right here. Okay?
Hey.
She is
the
matchmaker of all matchmakers. She's bringing people together. Let me tell you something about this woman too. She could her nose can sniff out. It's like if there's something off, she's like, por ahí no. So she connected us
from a mile away.
She does, right?
Yeah.
She's like, esa no es para ti, esa es tu amiga. Cuidado con este. Mm-hmm. So she's like our prophetic guidance when it comes to certain things, but also just you brought us together and it was so beautiful.
Yes.
I felt slightly bad because
why?
Because Dorka was the makeup artist on set, so we did a music video together.
Yeah, we have to give a background.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And in good old Blanca fashion, I showed up to the music video. I didn't have a makeup artist. I brought clothes that I was wearing, that I had in my closet. Mm-hmm. I was like, we're gonna wing this. It's gonna be great. But Christine came very prepared, and she brought
a whole team.
Glam squad.
Makeup. Yeah, where's our glam spot?
Yeah.
Her whole glam. So I was like, excuse me, ¿puedo usar tu glam?
Can I borrow your makeup artist?
Borrow everyone you brought?
Yeah, connected.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But then it was like Dorka and I bonded. It was, we keep saying, we said on our last episode, we had
imprinted.
like an imprint.
Yes.
And so it was like, oh, so you're family now? I'm sorry to tell you, I've only known you for 2 weeks, but we're now besties, and that's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah. Oh, I saw from far away. You guys were guys were sisters that needed each other and didn't know it.
Didn't know it.
But I could
that's
see
so
it.
True.
I have ADHD, so I can see patterns really easily, and I can predict patterns and behaviors. It's kind of weird the way things float in my brain, and also there's something called the strength finders. And so it's like it's kind of like a personality test, but not quite. It's strength-based psychology. So you do the test and it's timed answers to like keep you from second guessing your answer. And then
Yeah.
it gives you your top 5 strengths. So my third top strength is connectedness.
That makes
So
sense.
with like
100%.
patterns, I'm
Of this.
fascinated by patterns, and I'm fascinated by like the inner workings and connections of like all the avenues of life. So to me, one of my greatest satisfactions is when somebody from over here in my life
Mm-hmm.
and somebody from over here in my life, and I know them so well that I know they would be like the perfect
mesh.
friends.
Uh-huh.
And then I introduce them and I just
You're
watch
like,
it bloom, and it's
go
like,
on your merry way.
I love it.
Yep. And that's exactly what happened. You kind of like set everything up, and
And it's
It just
win-win
happened
for me
naturally.
because like now we find excuses to be together because like
All the
Blanca's
time.
getting glammed for this event. I'm like,
I
oh, can I come
know.
over too and get glammed
Yep.
too?
And,
And then I'll just
yes. And you know what's
I-
so funny? Sometimes even if I glam Blanca, let's say in the morning, and then I'm glamming you, she's like, can I come?
can I come? Yeah.
And then it's always just a hangout
It's
or
the
vice
catch-up.
versa. It's like, just come and chill while we're doing glam. Like, it
And
doesn't
That's
matter.
such a beautiful sisterhood.
I
And
feel
so much
like
fun.
you forever have what's the word when someone gets like the top authority or like the top choice?
Seniority.
You have seniority.
Yeah.
So there's times
This is so true.
where I'm like,
You're too kind.
I have Dorka, like I booked Dorka. We're
I'm
doing
figuring out
this
schedule.
event, and then Christine shows up, and I'm like, La hora que ella dice, whatever time she
Correct.
says
Correct.
is gonna be because
No,
we
this
owe
is so
her.
true.
No,
This is so
no, you're
true.
too
We owe
sweet.
her our friendship.
And
No,
mind you, I'm always saying, should I come over to Blanca's hotel? Should I come over to Blanca's Airbnb? Should I come over to Blanca's house? No. We'll come to you. I'm like,
Yep.
but
No,
I don't-
it's
you have to.
It's done. It's set.
I know. We're like, but this is our way to say thank
Repay.
you.
Yeah.
Ay, qué
In little
bella.
ways. I'm
I
like,
love
don't
you
worry. You
guys.
stay where you are. We're coming to you.
that's
No,
amazing.
that's so funny.
So to say that it couldn't have worked out any more perfectly, that you're our first guest,
Mhm.
it just felt like
It's a full circle.
a wink from the Lord
Mhm.
to say, you're on the right path. This is what I'm calling you to in this season. And this is just like a full circle moment of like, we didn't
Yes.
even know that this was a dream that we carried
Yeah.
Yes.
when
yes.
we
Sure.
met.
Mhm.
Yet here we are getting to heal together, to have conversations together. That's one of the most beautiful things that I've experienced with Dorka is this wisdom that she carries, this ability to go past the surface and check in on my heart, but give me like guidance and speak into places that can be difficult in the
Yeah.
season in which we met.
Yes.
So I think it's a beautiful thing to sit here and have you here
Mhm.
to be a guest on the podcast.
I am
so
honored.
special.
We kind of
And
just threw
so
you in.
proud. Like my girls have a podcast and it's awesome. I love it.
It's kind of crazy to think about that day on set. And like, did you ever just think we'd be
I
here in this-
knew
it's
it.
so
I knew it when I
crazy.
introduced you because I already knew of Blanca's story and where she was in her process. And one thing we have in common is, you know, we stand in the limelight quite a lot. And so
Mhm.
that can tarnish people's perception of who you are and how human you are.
Mhm.
And so finding good friends that are not always busy traveling the world is a challenge.
Mhm.
That can understand you in the level of life you're in,
Mhm.
but also like when you're in a bind and you like need somebody to talk to, they're there. And I know you were that. Because
Mm.
like there's very few people that are as clear and frank
Mhm.
and kind truth type people
Mhm.
as you are.
That's a beautiful
Because
way to say
I
it,
mean,
yeah.
Dorka's she's gonna tell you what she needs to tell you, even if you don't want to hear it.
She really is.
But she's gonna be kind about
out
it,
of
and she's
love.
gonna help you. Like, hey, blink a little bit, okay? Because you got something clouding your eyes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
But she's gonna be kind, and one thing about her, she's always gonna be loyal. She's gonna be there. And I knew that you needed that because I also need that in a lifestyle that, you know, we're on tour somewhere, somehow trying to, you know, making career and making motherhood and making house and just
it's like
all the
sometimes we
things.
just need that sense of like community,
Mhm.
and it's not as easy as it may seem. You don't want to go and get vulnerable with just anybody.
Especially as an adult.
You're looking for
it's so
safe
hard.
spaces. Yeah, it's like
And there's not
Yes.
very many safe spaces when you're under the interpretation of the public eye.
mm-mm.
That's just
Mhm.
the truth.
And
So
I was telling her on a last episode, I was like, and then going through a divorce where you're like, in a marriage, everything is kind of like with that person.
Yeah.
I did life with that person. So I had friends. I thank God that I had like just a handful of friends that were key. But for the most part, I'm like rebuilding, like having to put myself out there
Yes.
again to be like finding girlfriends and community and all these things.
And add on to that, you're Latina.
Mm-hmm.
So being a Latina divorcee has a whole nother
whole
set of
nother-
challenges and judgments
Mm.
because
Let's-
culture.
Before we go any further, because it seems like we're already ready to dive into this conversation.
I'm already breathing deep because I just had so much to eat.
No, pero
My button is
unfortunately,
popping.
mamita, aquí no paramos
But we
de
have
comer.
more.
Oh, so a part of our podcast, the name is
Okay.
called Taste of Grace, and I'm going to explain very shortly why.
Mhm.
We wanted to talk about just being gracious with ourselves and the journey that we're on,
Mhm.
and that's a big part of we feel our ministry is like meeting people where they're at and
Yes.
helping them feel understood and heard and seen. But the taste, it's like, why taste of grace? Because we're going to do it while eating, my people. Es que at the table is when the best conversations happen. You need food to make you feel comfortable, to make you feel at ease.
Yes.
So, without further ado,
Let's
Dorka,
bring it out.
let's...
Who do we have?
Oh my gosh, Dios mío.
¡Ay, espérate, pero hay alcapurrias!
Aquí hay de todo. Y estaba escuchando
Oh
un
my
poquito
God,
sobre
I wish I
you guys
hadn't had
looking
lunch.
for a
I
place to build
tried to
community,
tell
so
you.
This
Yeah.
is a great place to
Oh
build
my
community.
Wow.
God.
Chatarra fries. Son como unas papas locas. Pero obviamente flow with a twist, Purple Ocean style. We have a Domus burger. Que tiene
A what burger?
A domes con tostones y amarillo
Tostones.
adentro.
Y amarillos adentro.
Ay,
Obviamente,
Dios
pues,
mío.
Las alcapurrias de masa regular y
Y de yuca.
Tenemos el Rincón
No.
Burger, tiene un tostón de pan adentro. un poquito diferente.
Why didn't I have lunch?
I'm so sorry. Pero
Y tenemos el picadera platter.
what's the
Ay,
twist
no,
though?
tostones.
Porque tienes que explicarle que esta comida
Okay,
no es
What's the name of this place again?
This place is called Purple Ocean.
Purple
Purple
Ocean.
Ocean. Purple Ocean in the house, our sponsor.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So
they brought all this
grateful.
delicious food, but with a twist, porque es Latin food, vegetarian style. Porque la
Yes,
comida,
no puede ser.
la carne
Yes.
no es
Sí. No
carne.
le cojan miedo. Prueba la primera.
Is plant-based Puerto Rican food?
Yes.
Yes.
Plant-based Puerto Rican
Yes, it
food.
is. El ojito. Questions, a lot of questions there.
She was
Yeah.
all
I'll
excited.
answer your questions after you dive deeper into the flavor.
Okay, I have
All right.
never
Okay.
had plant-based Puerto Rican food.
Well, this is
Oh,
time to
wow.
have it. This is the perfect
Josiah
place.
came in on time. Thank you so much.
So it's like the impossible meat thing
Yes.
situation?
Mira, let's just go.
Is
with
it
the
bean-based?
But where from?
Brother.
Muchos sabores ahora mismo, muchos sabores. Y esta es una de cilantro aioli que te voy a poner.
Yes.
Madre mía.
Oh my gosh. So forget the podcast. Can we just
I can't with this. It's
Mira,
so
esto qué
good.
cute.
un tostón
It's so
relleno?
pretty con el aguacatito arriba.
Wow.
Okay,
While
I want
we
to try the
eat.
fries.
While we eat,
And so it's got the meat on top. Okay.
I want to.
I have ADD. I'm not listening.
I'll start them. Can you think of a key moment where food, let's just say like food and your background, like your family connected?
Food has been an integral part of everything when it comes to family.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a family of really good cooks. And I inherited that. And I have passed it on to my husband because he's a great cook too. I taught him how to cook and he's like better than me. But for instance, whenever I think of home, I think of some food. Whenever I think of comfort, I think of a food. Whenever I think of safety, I think of, being on my grandmother's couch with a little blanket where I don't have to be someone's mom. I don't have to be my mom's daughter. I could just be la nieta.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in the kitchen cooking.
Cooking.
Heavenly smells coming out of that kitchen. And I'm just like, oh, I can't wait. I don't know what she's making, but it's going to be
Mhm.
awesome. And so there's always been food. I have theories with food. And I've shared this before with friends. And it's like there's more to food than just cooking now that I'm in the mental health space and I've learned so much about the mind and like the power of emotions and the frequency behind emotions and how everything like kind of works in your body, I do believe that the emotional energy you put into a plate of food can be transferred. Also, the spiritual energy you put into the food can be transferred. And it's more than just, okay, let me make you a plate of food because you're hungry or it's your time to eat. But I'm also giving you the space and the opportunity to be able to endure another day of life in the land of the living. So there's an integral part, not just like the prime matter of the ingredients used to make and like the chemistry of the ingredients. There's the sharing with one another and the exchange that happens at the table, the being able to sit down, relax, replenish from like all the stressors of the day and be in a safe place with safe people, enjoying that meal. And one of my biggest pleasures in life is cooking a meal and serving it to somebody and watching them sit down and like taste it and go, qué rico. That is like,
oh my gosh, too. I'm the one that waits at the side of the table, like just staring at you, like, you like it? And then if you don't say anything, I'm like, they hate me. That's it. It's done. But it is like I hear you, because I'm like, there's times where you hear people say, oh, you made this with love. Like,
yes,
that's like more than
why
just
does it
like
taste different when you make it than when I do?
Yes.
Well, because I'm putting a piece of my soul into it.
Yeah.
To be able to prolong your life another day. It's deeper than that. And I love how, some of Jesus's most amazing moments with his disciples were around the table.
Yes.
That's so true.
I love how his first miracle was providing something for the table.
Ooh.
I love when, he taught his disciples to be fishermen of men. He taught them by providing a food ingredient. And I love how when he said farewell, it was at this table closing a cycle to give way to another one. And there was always like that table food,
the breaking of bread.
Yes.
the breaking of bread, the prolonging of life, even through the hardship. And so it's a thing,
Yeah.
I love that.
And
I
see
feel
that
like
to this day, because there's so many cultures that, where food is such a huge part. And so there's definitely more to food than what you're eating. There's different elements. There's unity.
I'm eating it.
Yeah. And there's joy. There's,
this is
sense of comfort.
the perfect moment of like, somehow I knew when this food came out that you would connect to it, right? It's like I feel seen because this is what I grew up on. It's a part of me. So I knew that when you would see it, it would open like a portal of like our childhood or our story and our like our Latina background, like all of these things are connected. And so I feel like you just broke down without us knowing why Taste of Grace. Like,
I know, we're like,
why does this matter?
Correct.
And I mean, some of your best connection moments and conversations are going to happen at a table. For us, it's been like that. I mean, we just went to dinner last night and it was like the revelations that came out in that conversation were just like, wow.
So true.
And our palates were having a party while we were talking. So that's a plus.
It's such a nice dynamic of like bonding over this and experiencing those things, and then also being able to dive into some really complicated and unique topics, and like some of our I don't know what it is. Sometimes when we're at the table, we're like enjoying this food and bonding over like what we love and what this tastes like, and I don't know, there's a sense of comfort and safety that you feel when you're bonding and sharing. So you're so right that it really does happen.
I also love how Jesus equated food to himself.
The bread.
And I am one of those that believes that communion should not just be held once every other month at church with the little tiny cracker and the little cup of grape juice. To me, this is communion. Every solid ingredient that I crush with my teeth should remind me that he was crushed for me. And the fact that I'm sitting down and eating it and enjoying it is because he was so good to give his life so that I can live abundantly. And every time I drink a glass of water or juice or soda or whatever, and that liquid is pouring, that's how his blood poured for me. Like, to me, I don't limit it to just the communion ceremony
Yeah.
that we do in
Yeah.
our congregations. It's every time we sit at the table and we eat. And we would be wise to pause and like remember that.
Correct.
And also surrender to him whatever we've lived up until that meal and whatever we're going to live after that meal.
Yeah.
Because if we have the privilege of eating something as simple as that, it's because he died for us to be able to enjoy it.
Amen. I think that's just like you could take anything and just bring life to it and bring depth to it. And I think that's why we were so excited for this conversation because
Me too.
I feel like since the moment I've met you, you have never been afraid to have raw, honest conversation. You've never been
So true.
como no. There's a saying in Spanish is like, ella no tiene pelo en la lengua. Like, she doesn't
have no
have
hairs
hair
on my
her,
tongue.
which I don't even know what that means.
It's like you don't hold back.
But you don't hold back, and I admire it.
Mhm.
Like, you are who you are through and through, but it has such depth and such like wisdom and such like you give such great sound advice. And so I think from speaking from my kind of point of view, my lens as an artist, that's been something that has really played a huge role in my journey, because I'm like, you were doing this like when it wasn't a thing to do, like for our like generation or whatever, you know, like I know that there was people before, but it was just done differently, and you brought like the new sauce to the mix, and it was so inspiring to watch and to see. Every time I would see you talk or I would see you perform, I'm like, man, she carries something that's so inspiring. And so I know that journey hasn't been easy, and I want to talk about those things. I'm like, we can all talk about the beauty of this journey and the things that we all have seen. But I want to talk about like the battle in this journey to get you where you are.
Well, several things come to mind, and I'm going to try to like wrap them all together if I can. First of all, the definition of courage that I learned was courage is not doing things unafraid.
That's good. So good.
Courage is moving forward and doing what you got to do even though you are afraid. And just, you know, there's bullets flying and it's a battlefield and there's explosions, but you know you got to get through, and the only way out of it is through it. Like you can't bypass the battlefield, and so run and hold on to God and hope that he's your shield. So I can say now, a few years ago, I couldn't say that I was courageous because to me, you know, I had the misconception that, I needed to be I need to be fearless to do this. No, you just need to be brave and courageous, which is do it shaking. Do it even though you're shaking in your boots, but like move the boots.
Yes.
Now, the other perspective of what you ask is, and I'm assuming you're talking about me confessing to the world about my mental illnesses, which 6 years ago, postpartum depression was a spearhead for me to the funneling of a lot of trauma from my childhood. Surviving sexual abuse at 5, watching my father pretty much degenerate to addiction until he lost his life when I was 6. My mom remarrying rather quickly, and me moving from New York, where I was born and everything I knew, to Puerto Rico with this new family and this new culture, and just, you know, growing up being bullied and rejected and like kicked on and pushed around. I confessed by accident on a radio show.
Wow.
What I was going through with the postpartum depression. One of my symptoms was suicide. And so it was really hard for me and very, very shameful to admit to myself, let alone other people, that I'm a leader in the church. I am a person that's followed by millions of people around the world. I, you know, have set a precedent about what life victorious is, yet my brain is tricking me. And I have these thoughts of suicide, and I don't know what to do with them, and I don't know what to do with my body, and I don't know what to do with new motherhood. And everything is just crumbling, not knowing that all the trauma from my childhood was simply trying to find a way out.
Yeah.
And the crisis of new motherhood and postpartum depression was that
Really
way
brought it
out. It's
out.
like, okay, pay attention now. If you don't,
You can't, yeah. It's
you're
like
going to
it's
die.
You can't hide this anymore.
And so when I was newly diagnosed, I was on a radio interview in Puerto Rico. I had an event coming up in a few months after that. My second daughter was maybe 4 months old. My son was a year and a half old, and I was trying to figure everything out. I had told my husband about the postpartum depression. I hadn't yet had the courage to tell him about, the suicide symptom. Only my therapist, my midwife knew about that, and nobody else. And they asked me this question like, well, tell us, Christine. I mean, they said it in Spanish, but I'll say it in English. You have a new second baby. What's it like adjusting to the motherhood of two? And how are things at home? And how are things with Carlos? And how are things with your heart? And how's what's going on with you? Like, we want to know everything. Tell us everything. And I'm like, well, I promised Jesus I wasn't going to lie on purpose again. Okay, what do I do, Lord? Because if I say I'm fine, I'm lying.
Wow.
But if I tell what's really going on, I'm done. Like, who's going to want to call such a broken person to, like, worship or speak life into anybody? I'm too broken. But I chose to just honor my promise to the Lord. And I said, I just got diagnosed with a very severe form of postpartum depression, and I'm going through the darkest season of my life. And I don't know what's in the future. All I know is that, I'm choosing to trust God's word, and I'm choosing to believe that eventually I will get out of it if he helps me.
Wow.
But there's not much that I can say. I don't really know the answer to your question. And it was like dead silence for like,
oh man,
8 to 10 seconds on the radio, which is like, you might as well just do
it feels like
no programming for an hour on TV. And everything shifted and changed from that point forward. I didn't know at the time, but it kind of spearheaded a movement of removing stigma of mental health in communities of faith. And so that's the journey that I'm on. It's been almost 7 years now since I got diagnosed. I have since graduated from that part of my process. I continue going to therapy because now I know that I can truly heal and peel back the layers and live what they say my best self. It only happens if you know yourself. And then you know what truly to offer up to the Lord. Sometimes we don't know enough about ourselves to know what it is that we're surrendering to the Lord when we say, take it all.
That's
but
true.
We don't know our all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been hard to break patterns. It's been hard to go against hurricane-like winds. Just for the sake of trusting God and trusting that he could do so much more with my broken pieces that I could ever do with the whole planet.
I want to highlight something that you said. I'm going to back up, but I feel like specifically for a female and how our minds work, the way I feel like our hold, I'm trying to put into words, but kind of like the hold that the enemy could have, or just in general, let's not even bring in the enemy, just like the biggest challenge is a twisted truth. And you said something that was like, how if I share what's really going on, it'll end everything.
Yes.
Like I'll lose it all. Who's going to want to call a broken person to come minister at their church, or to come, who's going to invite me, and I think that's the whole is like to take something that is like a twisted truth, and it's really like taking true statements of maybe what is happening, but connecting them to a lie that overcasts that truth,
right?
And then it becomes like the shame of, if I say this, everything will be ruined.
Right.
And so it was such a beautiful picture as I'm hearing you talk, because I deal with this a lot. I can have, we talked about anxiety. I deal with fear. But it's that moment of like, you fought past it. Like, even if it was in a blink of a second, you said, that's courage. Like, I'm going to choose to trust the Lord in this moment and to speak this truth out, regardless of what the outcome could be. And that's what shifted into your new ministry. That's what shifted into this new season for you, just from that moment of saying,
making that choice.
Yep.
That's powerful.
Well, a half truth is a whole lie. And that's what the enemy used in the beginning with Adam and Eve.
That's true.
He gave them a half truth. He didn't flat out lie. He said, God said you would die? You will not certainly die. You're not going to drop dead. What are you talking about? He gave them a half truth because, it is true that their death wouldn't be like, boom,
Like
drop dead and you're gone and you cease existing. It was going to be a very gradual process of suffering until death.
Yeah.
But the enemy very conveniently withheld that piece of information. And sometimes we partake with the enemy when we're not true fully about who we are and what we're going through, especially to ourselves. I don't mean like go on social media and tell the world all your flaws.
business.
It's not necessary, but you do have to admit it to yourself and to the people around you that are there for you. One of the biggest issues with me and like the truth was I thought that I had my whole truth. I was choosing to share or not share, be it rooted on shame or whatever, what my truth was. What I learned through the years is I am never going to be able to grasp all of the truth. And that's why I need the spirit of truth. So in order to heal truly and to have that courage, you have to know that the spirit of truth is with you and that the spirit of truth is the one leading you into the battle. Because if not, you're going to get hurt or maybe not make it out. The difference is don't just go in it just to be courageous because you want to be your best self and that's it. No, that's humanism.
Yeah.
It's like glorifying you. That's not what we want. We want to glorify God.
Yeah.
And we want to glorify the way, the truth, and the life of Jesus Christ. And the Holy Spirit is the spirit of truth. So if we are going to go into battle, if we're going to start healing, we need to anchor on the spirit of truth. We need to anchor on his word and listen. But in order to listen, we need to pause and we need to be comfortable being alone with ourselves and with him. That was the challenge for me.
Yeah.
That was a big challenge because every time my therapist gave me that homework, 3 words that I still to this day despise.
Yes.
Sit with it.
Sit
What?
with it.
Why is that so hard? But
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
your homework. Like, no, I want you to make me make a list. Like, tell me, but give me something active. No, you have to sit with it. I don't want to sit with it. Like, lady, I just told you that I want to mortally wound the people that abused me as a kid. And they're probably already dead. Like, I don't want to sit with this anger and this rage. Yeah, you have to sit with it. And I'm like, but I'm not going to see you for a month. You're telling me to sit with this for a month. Yeah, sit with it. Because if you don't sit with it, you can't discover and explore where it comes from. And then if you don't know where it comes from, you don't know where the root is, and you don't know what to ask the Lord to heal.
I think all my journal entries start with, this is really uncomfortable as I sit in this. Like, I feel I read back and every time I'm like, this is really hard.
Yeah.
The more I sit in this silence, the louder everything becomes.
Yeah. And that's the hard part because that's the haunting side of inner healing. My journal entries usually start with, yeah, I'm here. I've been running around for days needing to write this, but like not wanting to.
Like avoiding it. Yeah.
But here I am. Yay. I sat my butt down. Yay.
Now I'm ready.
And now let's process.
It's so hard. I don't know why silence is hard when you have to process things. I remember reading a book that really kind of blew my mind. It's called The Body Keeps the Score.
Yes.
And if you've been through trauma or the way that I've learned that before you can even get to the root of the issue, your body's already telling you something's off. Something's uncomfortable. there's something to unravel here,
Mhm.
and there's something that you need to work through.
Yep.
And you can't work through something if you don't sit long enough to know where it's coming from, where it's stemming from,
Yep.
how it's affected you. And it's now when I'm in a situation where it's uncomfortable, I can feel my body reacting before my mind can make sense
Yes.
of what's actually happening. And it happens in a lot of different ways, you know, whether it's like anxiety
Mm-hmm.
or whether it's something that you don't even remember. I think that's what it
Yes.
like really holds memory. It's like that muscle memory. It's something or a way of protection before you even realize the kind of situation you're in. Or it really does blow my mind.
Yeah.
But when you sit with something, your body's already like,
Oh, yeah.
before you can even start thinking, just it just already gets
it starts
there. And
putting
it starts
on the
letting you
check
know.
engine lights.
Mm-hmm.
And the most amazing thing I'm finding with my body and like other people I've heard is it starts putting on the check engine light, but if you ignore it enough, it'll stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just let you go until it collapses.
Mm.
I want to know, like, what is your check engine light? Do you
Okay.
are you like what
Ooh,
something
that's a
I'm
good question.
discovering right now is
Mhm.
like my trigger points, or like
Mhm.
I'm having the awareness to be like, ooh, I think I'm going into that. I'm spiraling.
Well,
Yeah.
What's
no
your check
one,
engine
no one has
light?
ever asked me that. And I just realized that I've never confessed this. My check engine light is rage.
Ooh.
When the
Wow.
child inside of me that was hopeless and afraid comes up. And she
Mhm.
comes up with anger.
Is it like
Wow.
justice? Like
It's like, stop trying to pinch me down.
Mhm.
Stop trying to quiet my voice. Stop it. That comes up. And if I'm not careful and I don't identify it in time, I can
Wow.
hurt someone.
Wow.
Like as a kid, I was a very violent kid because there was just so much frustration inside of me, you know.
Mhm.
that's wild.
I would just, you know, I wouldn't pick a fight, but I would certainly respond to one.
Mhm.
And it was a thing for me to just that rageful violence. So I know when something's not right, my check engine light is
You start
Mhm.
feeling rage.
I start getting snappy
Irritated.
and I start getting more than irritable because us girls, truly, we get
Mhm.
irritable once a month, faithfully.
Mhm.
And that's
Sing
like the
fire.
norm. Like you can't avoid that
That's
if
true.
you're in reproductive years. But for me, it goes up a notch. And it's like I'm hyperventilating and I'm clenching my fists and I'm like, my
Mhm.
face is tight and I'm not de-escalating as fast as I'm used to.
Ooh.
Or I'm not being very graceful with the people around me. Or I'm
Mhm.
expecting too much from the people around me
Mm.
because
this is so good.
because I'm expecting too much of me. And so I'm wanting to like balance the planes
Mhm.
and like equate everybody else. Like, okay, I'm pulling out my sword here. Everybody else needs to do the same thing. And if
Mhm.
not, I'm going to get so angry. I know that there's something inside of me that needs to be healed. And there's
Mm.
another layer that the Lord has peeled back and he's showing me. He's using my body to show me.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's my check engine light. I've never actually said that.
I
That's
know,
a
I love
really
that.
yeah.
I mean,
like,
crying is not a
Dorka.
thing for me. I am not a people pleaser anymore. Thank God. I am comfortable with the word no.
Yes.
I learned that no is not a cuss word.
Yes, exactly.
But it's the anger
Mhm.
and the rage. And also another thing that I know when I'm like really, really depleted, I lose my joy for being surrounded by people. I always have joy being surrounded by
Mhm.
people. I'm an ambivert. So that's like I'm half introverted, half extroverted.
Mhm.
And when it's my people time, it fills me with so much
Yes.
life. When I'm listening to their stories and like praying for them or like holding them or like, here, hold my baby. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this baby's so delicious. And I sniff them. It's like that is life-giving to me more than being on the platform.
Mhm.
When that becomes uncomfortable to me,
You know something's up.
I know
Mhm.
something's up. Because even when I'm like in my introverted side, I'm not uncomfortable if somebody comes around.
Mhm.
Now, when I become like, and I feel like that, there's something in my soul that needs to be
Yeah.
tended to. Like the engine is revving a little too much.
Mhm.
There's something overfiring.
Wow.
That's my trigger.
My trigger has always been my breathing. I know it's so
Yes.
silly. It's so silly, but I never noticed until I started going to therapy. And the first day that I met my therapist, Constance, and I remember being so nervous.
Mhm.
And I literally was like blacking out. Like when I get anxious, I just kind of like
Stop breathing.
Therefore, I kind of just
Like just here.
Yes, like I can't make sense of a lot of things. And that's why it was so hard to live with. But one of the most mind-blowing things, which is like I feel so silly saying this sometimes, but she taught me how to breathe. And because on our first session, she told me like when you're in fight or flight mode, you just can't help it, but you kind of stop breathing. And it's like because of your heart and your breathing, you're telling your body and your mind something completely different than what is happening. So it doesn't know if you're being like, if you're like, I don't know, scared to speak in front of people, or if you're like, it's life or death and there's a dinosaur like
you're being chased
running
by
after
chasing you.
Yeah, it's like your body doesn't know the difference. And
Good.
so she taught me how to do that. So that was one of the first homeworks that I got, was to implement my breathing and like being conscious of like
conscious breathing.
Yes. And so when I would get so anxious, like whether it was like at a job or in a situation, my body was telling me, you're getting anxious.
You need
oxygen.
oxygen.
I could feel the heat rising in my body. I could feel myself, my breaths getting shallower and shallower and shallower. And then I was like, okay, I think this is when I'm supposed to put this into play. Like I guess it's where you implement it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I want to breathe. So
like,
so then I was like,
I need to breathe at this point.
Okay. And then it was so silly too, because I'm like over here next to my makeup kit sometimes, and I'd be like touching my stomach to make sure that I'm stomach breathing, and I'm like inhaling for a couple seconds, exhaling, and my mind, it was in hindsight, it seems kind of silly, but I'm like, that actually was one of the key points that changed my life moving forward, because I was able to have more control over my anxiety, and I was able to calm my mind and tell my body to slow down. And so now when I experience a little anxiousness, because just because you overcome like something like anxiousness and fear or certain things doesn't mean that it won't rear its head here and there. And so, but now you can identify it. You know what your body is like trying to communicate with you. And so I can tell when that's my trigger, when I can tell when I'm like, I don't think I've taken a deep breath or like have paid attention to my breathing in the last couple of minutes. Like, I don't. So this is the time to implement it.
You know what I've learned? And it's become very personal to me. So, you know, sometimes you're going through stuff and you don't have the strength to like, and from our perspective, like we sing, we worship.
Yeah.
We worship through music. Sometimes you don't have the strength to even do this and like say hallelujah. Sometimes it takes everything in you to just like be awake that day because you're so tired and depleted. I learned that in moments like that, stopping to intentionally breathe can be an act of worship. Because the Bible says everything that has breath, praise the Lord. And even like I watched a video clip of somebody mic'd inside of a diaphragm. Somebody mic'd the bottom of the diaphragm where the lungs are and captured the sound of what happens when you inhale and exhale. And so when you inhale, it sounds like yeah. And when you exhale, it's so the sound is Yahweh. So that unspeakable God that, you know, the Yahweh without the vowels that the Hebrews talk about, it's the same sound that happens every time we inhale and exhale.
Wow.
So when we're shallow breathing, we're doing it smaller.
I'm telling you, it's like when you can breathe.
And also, it could also be an act of prophetic worship. Because praise means to exalt God for what he's done. But when you can't see what he's done because you're like clouded by anxiety or fear or whatever, intentionally thinking, okay, I'm going to breathe, and with my breath, my lungs are going to be praising him, even though I don't have the strength to do it. And I'm going to praise him for what he's done that I can't see, but I know he's going to do.
Yeah.
So just me and God in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to let his breath of life flow through me.
Yes.
And I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, and that's so true. I realized when I was taking those breaths too that I was becoming more present.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute that it's very much like you don't even realize that it is a way for you, like, for God to show up.
Yeah.
And be like very
Because you get out of like the
being
crazy mind
the
stratosphere and you.
Yes.
You're not in the moment.
Exactly.
And that's what the breath brings you back
Yes.
to, like, the present moment.
Yep, because anxiety is the fear of the unknown and the future and what could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you are taking these breaths, you're allowing yourself and your mind and everything to kind of like line up, and you're like, at least when I'm breathing, I'm like feeling everything and focusing on God, letting him in, letting him take control of the situation, doing what I can to get my mind and my heart and my lungs to catch up.
Yep.
And then suddenly I'm like, the rug is gray, the walls are white, and I start noticing little things in the room that I can point out.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I'm back.
I'm here.
You're back.
In the moment, I'm okay. It was not life or death. It was
anxiety says, what if?
Mm-hmm.
But faith says, even if.
Yeah.
And so
That's
when
good.
you center yourself and you just go back to the basics, which is I have the breath of life that came out of God's nostrils flowing through me right now. So if he's keeping me alive, and while there's life, there's hope, even if my worst case scenario plays out, there's going to be a plan and a purpose and a protection in place that I'm not going to provide for myself. He already has provided for me from the beginning of the foundation of the earth. And that's that, period. That's truth. Like, you can't question the truth. It is
so
law.
True. It's so true. And I think that's where anxiety really is a lie.
Yeah.
You know?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
And you have to see it for what it is. And for a long time, I let the lie of anxiety, like, take control over my life. And so...
Same.
It was so it's nice to identify your triggers. So I'm happy that you're like, you can tell when your body's changing, your mood, you're like, I can feel it rising up, because I feel the same way in a different way with my breathing.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I feel like one of my biggest alerts are my eating, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So I have anxious eating, or like if I find myself like I'm not even hungry, but I find that I need to eat, it's a form of comfort. And I wish that wasn't the case, pero it is what it is for me. Like it distracts my mind. It helps me have a physical motion of like chewing, even if it's ice, like whatever it is, it helps me like focus on something that's not my mind. And so that's been like an alert for me to be like, wait a second, let me pause, because I'm not hungry.
Right.
I'm like, I need to, I've learned to use that as a point to be like, I think something is going on right now and I need to check in with myself. So that's been something for me that's been helpful. And I was there's been so many like key things that I feel like you guys have shared that are so necessary to hear in this process of like understanding. I think the biggest thing is like this self-awareness and this idea of like our bodies are going to do what our bodies are going to do, but the more we can understand them and hear them and listen and connect is how we can actually create change. Because without being aware of these things or like noticing these things, you kind of just never have a guide. Like
so true.
Right? Yeah. So I feel like that's been a big thing too, because I'm understanding that when those things start happening, it's like I've lost my connection to the Lord.
Yeah.
It's really like I've somehow in there have started focusing on myself and not him.
There's an argument going on in there that he's not in.
And I'm like, so that's been with therapy too, she's kind of like, hey, start having affirmations of like, God, help me. Thank you for giving me peace. Help me see more peace. Thank you for giving me clarity. Help me see more clarity.
That's so
I start
good.
focusing on those words rather than like, I don't know what to do. Nothing's clear. I can't figure this out. I'm bringing to life. She's like, it's like when you see a Tesla for the first time. Let's say your friend gets a Tesla and then you go out on the road and you're like, oh my gosh, now I see this car everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like, never used to see this car. And all of a sudden now it's everywhere I look.
Yeah.
It's that same practice of like when you start connecting to the Lord and saying, God, you've already granted me calm. Help me find more calm.
Yes.
You already granted me peace. Thank you for that peace. Now help me find more peace.
That.
You start
to see it.
Your mind starts going through the Rolodex of like, when's the last time she felt peaceful?
Yes.
Right?
That's
so
true.
it's been super helpful to like be able to be honest with myself and say, I'm not connecting to God.
Right.
I need to get back in my bag.
Back
of praying,
in the word.
Back in my
prayer,
word. Back in community. Back in whatever
back
I
in
need
meditation.
to do.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to figure this out in my own strength. And that has gotten me nowhere.
So true.
And there is a scripture for everything you're going through. Just find it and meditate on it daily.
It will speak to you. Okay.
Please.
So what is a way that you do find, like, I think you're always pouring out. Even you, Dork, I feel like you guys are on constant go mode.
Yeah.
Always pouring out for your families, pouring out for people, pouring out your services. Like, how do you recharge? What's a way that you have found? Like, give us your wisdom in this moment to figure out, like, how do you balance it, Christine?
Well, at this stage in life, being on or off the road is very busy because I have 2 very active children. I have 2 children, but really I handle like 6 or 7 children because they have so much going on and they're super active brains. And they're at the age, like my youngest is now 6. So that's the age when they want to climb on everything and like push the boundaries of their body on everything. And like everything's a monkey bar, including mom. So it can be tiring. My way to recharge is I need to just get still. Because like you say, I'm always going. And it's invigorating to me because the body emotion wants to stay in motion.
Yeah.
But I have to bring the rhythm of, okay, step out of busy and step into being.
Yes.
And just dwelling in the truth of who you are, which is a child of God.
Yeah.
And another thing that's like, it has to be pretty sacred is this keeping my Sabbath.
So
I'll work 6 days and I have to take that one day
every
a week.
week you get 1 day a week.
And sometimes there are seasons in which like you're going for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Well, then they accumulate. And I have to take those Sabbaths off more than anything. Not because, you have to not do anything on a Saturday like the Jewish people do. Well, I'm not Jewish, so I'm a Gentile. But the law of the Sabbath applies because it's in the 10 Commandments. So it's, of the top 10, it's number 4.
Yeah.
Work 6 days,
Take
keep
a
1
day.
day. And it's not because it's a restriction. It's because it's a facilitator of your replenishment.
Oh, wow.
So if you sin disobeying commandment 1, 2, and 3, you're sinning against God because they have to do with idolatry and idols. If you sin in the 10 commandments of 5 through 10, you're sinning against someone else. The 4th commandment is the only one that if you break it, you're sinning against yourself.
Ooh.
Wow, I never saw.
And I had
me.
to learn that the hard way.
Wow.
One of the things that I most benefit from keeping my Sabbath is, and it doesn't have to be on a Saturday, it just needs to be within 7 days, rest one. And it's to keep your space and time with him and with family doing things other than working.
Yes.
If what replenishes you is to sleep an extra couple hours, then do that. If what replenishes you is, I don't know, go to the golf course and like play golf, then do that. If it's, you know, put
Mhm.
out a canvas and paint something and it makes you feel you again, well, then do that. Don't go to
Yeah.
your emails.
Mhm.
Please get off your text messages and don't talk about work with people. Get off of social media for a day. You can handle 24 hours. And for me, the biggest takeaway is watching God shine through my conscious act of depending on him.
Mm.
It's me saying, surrender these 24 hours out of these 7 days because I know that you can do with 24 hours what I cannot possibly do with 6
Mhm.
days.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to watch you do what you do while I rest knowing that you're going to do what you do.
Yeah.
love
And
that.
it's not about me, it's about you. And you know what? Since I've been practicing that, it's going to be about 10 years now that I've been practicing that regularly. Some of the biggest opportunities I've ever had have been waiting for me in my inbox the day after the Sabbath. They come on a
Wow.
Sabbath when I did nothing.
Wow.
The biggest awards, the biggest tours, the biggest opportunities, the biggest collaborations, the best songwriting camps, like
Mhm.
all the big things that you hear about Christina Clario have usually come on a Sabbath when I have pushed nothing for them.
Wow.
They have come to me when I've trusted on the Lord. And then I get invigorated and replenished while I rest in him.
That's such a good lesson too, because I feel like we live in a world where busy is celebrated
Addicting.
Yeah.
and it's addicting. And if you're booked and busy and on the go and
Look
people
at
admire it,
me.
yeah, and all this stuff.
I'm so important. I got so much work to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you're like, but why am I exhausted? Why am I struggling
Mhm.
with
My
my mental health and my anxieties through the roof and all these things? But people are like celebrating it. And so
Mhm.
you're like, it must be a good thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it really isn't if you're not honoring yourself and
Yeah.
giving yourself time to rest.
And know
And
how far
and
you
I'm
can
guilty
go.
of that. And if you know me, you know that I
Mhm.
am always working. And but to like I enjoy my job. I kind of have an awesome
You have
job.
an
I love
amazing
what I do.
Yeah, you do.
I love the people that I work with. I love what I
Thank
do.
you.
It has there are so many layers to where like sometimes it doesn't even feel like a job. But I am working.
Mhm.
And so thank you for sharing that because it really does put in perspective that, you know, it's in there for a reason, and they command commandments for you to reset and have a day to rest,
Mhm.
and it makes a difference. I mean, your body's even telling you when you're
Mhm.
overworked and all these things. It's like you can't do what you do
Mhm.
at your best,
Yes.
and so it's actually a disservice
Yeah.
to what you're
Yeah.
doing.
And God
if you
only
don't do
places
that.
boundaries when it's for our best good.
Yeah.
That's a good.
He
point,
won't
too.
set boundaries to entrap us. He sets
Mhm.
boundaries to free us. And so that's what the
That's a
10
good one.
Commandments
He
are.
sets boundaries to free us.
He sets boundaries to free us and not to
Mhm.
entrap us
That's so
because he's
good.
a good dad and he knows how far we can go and he knows that we don't always know that.
No, it's
Mhm.
like a loving father. It really
Yes.
is. Like he's
Mhm.
like it's like for our own good and we don't even know it.
And
And I feel
back-
like I can relate
Yes.
to what you're saying because it's not for me, it's not seen in the eyes of rest or Sabbath, but it's seen in the eyes of surrender.
Yes.
Pero es lo mismo. It's like the same concept of having to let go.
Yep.
The Sabbath is ultimately saying this is the only way that I'm going to refuel.
Yes.
Because
Mhm.
it's not in my hands. I'm letting
Yes.
it go. And that to me is like you're speaking to my heart. Because I'm like, it's so hard for
Mhm.
me. That's my word of this year has been surrender.
Right.
Like, can you really let it? Can you really like let it go,
Let it
and,
go.
and let me do what it is that I'm trying to do? Or are you gonna continue to like work it and maneuver it and control it just so that you can try to get the best result and it's not even near what I have?
Ain't no
for
such
you.
thing as a Holy Spirit helper.
No,
He is the helper.
I
We
feel
don't need to help the helper.
This is true. Yeah, that's such a good
Back to
point.
the body keeps the score.
Mhm.
Something about the Sabbath is if you don't redeem them, they catch up on you.
Mm.
And that's why people have mental breakdowns, nervous breakdowns. their bodies start reacting with autoimmune stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They end up in a hospital with like massive anxiety and nobody can detect what that is.
Mhm.
It's not keeping your rests up to par.
Mm-hmm.
And your body, because it keeps the score. It's like,
Well,
well, God
you've done enough.
pronounced and
Yeah.
said that this needed to happen. So let's just bring them all together and like lay you in a bed so that you have to rest forcefully
Yeah.
because the body can't take no more.
This is very true. And unfortunately, I've had many moments where that has been the case.
Yep.
And my body has forced me, whether I've gotten sick or I
Yep.
actually do have an autoimmune disease. I have Hashimoto's
Mm-hmm.
and anxiety. So it's definitely a thing that I've had to learn a little bit the hard way.
Yeah.
Where I've had to not just convince myself, but really understand that rest is okay and rest is good and rest is recommended. In
Rest is
a
actually
time where
advancing.
Yes. Yeah.
I learned this when I started to run, which was for mental health, because I noticed that my anxiety kind of came down when I kept my body active. So you don't build strength when you're running or when you're doing the exercise. You build strength in the recovery.
Ooh, that'll preach.
Wow.
My
And if
people.
you don't keep your recovery days, you can atrophy the muscles
Wow.
or even the joints and
That
then
is
have
so-
injuries that are
I don't know
I
irreparable.
feel
why
like
that
my
just
husband has
unlocked
told me that.
something.
I feel like
That
Steven
makes
does
sense.
tell me that. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And
You
so I keep
don't
going.
build strength
like that.
in the activity. You build strength in
the
the
rest.
recovery, in the rest.
Mhm.
That is
That's
so
when
good.
your muscles start repairing and your joints start repairing and your body starts
Wow.
adjusting to this newfound strength.
Yes.
I feel
That
like
preached to me heavy
Yeah.
about 3 years ago. Like, what?
Wow.
that is
So you do
good
more by resting and trusting and surrendering than what
Mhm.
you could do by going.
It's like
Yeah.
I call it the upside down.
Uh-huh.
Like there's things in the kingdom of God, I feel like, that are flipped on what you
Mhm.
think they would be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like everything in
Yes.
me is like, when I'm not working or doing, I feel like I'm going against the best for myself.
Yes.
But it's like
Mhm.
in the way he
It's a lot.
works,
Yeah.
it's like, no, actually in the rest is when you do the most work. It's
Mhm.
how you allow me to do my work in you. I'm always like, those
Right, that's
moments are like,
I
just
know,
your
that's so
survival
true.
instinct speaking and not your abiding.
Mm.
We have a nature to abide, but we have an instinct to survive.
Mhm.
So when you're in like survival instinct, I gotta go, do. I gotta like accumulate and I gotta hunt and I gotta organize
Yeah.
and I gotta build. And, because if not,
if
if a
not, I
storm
won't
comes
survive.
or, the
Yes.
predator comes and that's just our caveman ancestors
Instinctual. Mhm.
speaking through ourselves down the line. Survival instinct. But our nature is actually to abide and to
Mm.
dwell.
Mhm.
It's so good.
So we just
That's
have
a
to
good
like
challenge. I'm
we have
leaving
to
here
flip.
challenged to
challenged.
really be intentional with my rest and what that looks like.
I feel like we can talk about this
Mhm.
all
All
day.
day.
Like I feel like we cannot stop.
Yes.
The food helped. It's sunk in. The couch is nice.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want this to end. But I also want to make sure that, I don't know, I feel this, and Dorka and I have talked about this. It's almost like this responsibility might not be the right word,
Mhm.
but the purpose of this is to in some way do our part.
Yeah.
To
Mhm.
give whatever tool we can. This is like our form of a master class.
Yes.
And we don't have it figured out. We don't know what we're doing, but whatever we're
Mhm.
learning is not to hold and to benefit for
So
ourselves,
true.
but it's
Right.
to like
share.
give and to share
Mhm.
and to help this community of women that are wanting to change and grow and heal. And
Yes.
like, so if, to wrap it all up,
Uh-huh.
basically, like, give us a Christine nugget. If you can, given your life, the challenges, the depression, the postpartum, the everything that you've experienced, and you did this to me on your podcast, so I'm giving it back. I'm like, if you can go back
Chamalaki.
and speak to that younger Christine and give her some sort of tool, some sort of nugget to say, like, what would that be?
Mhm.
What would you give these
Mm.
girls that are listening right now and saying, man,
So if I can go back, knowing myself and knowing how much I have through my life strived to be strong. That's like something like it was a staple in my family. Like when I was little and I would lift on something up, my mom would always go, "Fuerza de mujer, woman power." And it's like, yeah, it was like, I'm strong woman, surrounded by very strong women. And that was kind of what I aspired to be, even as a kid. I would go back to every deeply wounded version of myself in the past that wanted to give up. And I would say, you have no idea how this weakness and its process is going to make you strong in the end.
I love that.
You have no idea. Stay the course. Don't quit.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be so much stronger. And the strength is not going to come from you, because you're going to be riding on the wings of the strongest. And you're going to learn how to be comfortable with that. Stay the course. It sucks right now. I know. It hurts. But you're going to be so much stronger for this. And you're going to make other women stronger too. Just because you stayed the course. It's going to be okay.
In your weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In your weakness.
This
That's the
weakness,
key.
this
Exactly.
precise weakness is what the Lord is going to turn around to make it become a strength.
Yeah. I love that he does that.
I'm like, that
He
He
sure
deserves
works
a
does.
things
clap,
out
people.
for our good.
Bravo.
Eso that
And an
ministry.
acapurria.
No, this whole time I'm like,
Yes.
my anxiety. is
You're like looking at, I've been eyeing that little piece of alcapurria.
I'm ready
I'm
to dive
just
in.
waiting for like
Yes.
all the
Settle.
haltera to go down.
you wanna?
So, Christine, what are you working on right now? What do you have going on?
Whew, I've got a lot going on right now. I just released my latest album in Spanish, The Bride, La Novia. And it's just about,
It's amazing.
preparing the
Yes,
bride
yes.
because Jesus is coming and he's coming soon. And part of that is aligning mental health and inner
Mhm.
healing so that we can love the Lord with all our heart and all our soul and all our mind and all our strength and others as ourselves. That is the ultimate goal of a prepared bride for the coming of the Lord, to
Mhm.
get there. And so that's the assignment that the Lord has given me. If I'm blessed to have 40 to 60 years left on this earth, that's what I'm going to dedicate my life doing, preparing the bride. And one of the things that I've learned is we've built altars as a church for the heart, emotional altars. We've
Mhm.
built spiritual altars. We've built physical strength altars, but we have not built an altar for the renewal of the mind. And I believe we can do that in our generation.
Wow.
And so one of the things that the Lord has entrusted me with is I have a nonprofit organization, the Christine DeClario Foundation. And we have 3 reasons in our vision, which is number 1, to destigmatize mental health in communities of faith,
Mhm.
because it is neither fair or logical that we have the answer and the solution, but we're not prepared enough and equipped enough to be able to save people
Wow.
from here. And we have the power. We are able to
Wow.
take arguments captive and submit them to the
Mhm.
obedience of Jesus Christ. But first we have to know what those arguments are.
Yeah.
The second thing is providing affordable mental health care, especially to people in communities of faith, because that's a big objection to people not
Mhm.
getting help. It's too expensive, too inaccessible. And
Mhm.
I don't think that should be an excuse any longer, because God has blessed a lot of people of faith with a lot of wellness and wealth
Yes.
to be able to share with the world. And so that's another mission. And the other mission is training an army of people in ministry and people who are anointed to lift other people up and train them in proper mental health care practices within communities of faith,
Mm.
so that they learn in the basics, the 3 R's of mental health, which is relate, respond, and refer. That's all we
Wow.
need to learn how to do.
Mhm.
Hold people's hands, know that they're going through something because we've been through something, and send them to somebody who can help heal them in the name of the Lord.
Mhm.
And so in that threefold mission of my organization, we have started my podcast In Session with Christine DeClario to
Mhm.
help talk about these
Whoop, check it out.
subjects.
Mhm.
Blanca, Blanca's been on it. We want to help shed light on people's hard journeys and just have open talks of things that might be taboo in our society, especially in our faith society, that don't need to be anymore, because we need to start getting people healed. The pandemic
Mhm.
taught us one thing, and is that the entire world is traumatized. So we need to start healing and resolving that trauma so that we
Yeah.
can live life and live it abundantly.
Yes.
So the podcast is underway. It will be
So
releasing really
exciting.
soon in
Wow.
English and in Spanish. I'm excited about that.
I love
And
that.
I've also released a project, a community called Soul Share Health.
Mhm.
It's available in soulsharehealth.com. And it's community-based healthcare. We provide very affordable, low-price mental health care online,
Mhm.
counseling, psychology, psychiatry. We also provide urgent care. And we also
Wow.
provide pharmacy coverage if you need or already have prescriptions that you need, like some of the lowest prices on the market we have.
Wow. That's incredible.
And we don't do the whole screening for pre-existing conditions or none of that. Like, we just want people to get the help, and we have donors and investors that are helping us to do that. And also, we have a piece that a lot of these mental health organizations don't have, which is the wholesome community. A lot of people get addicted once they try seeing a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist or a counselor. They get addicted to, like, oh, I need to see them more. Let me just call them for every little thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When not every little thing is crisis. Sometimes crisis come because you're uncomfortable with sitting with it,
Yeah.
which we talked about.
Mhm.
Sitting with it, processing it alone with yourself and with community. So we have community-based care,
Wow.
which is you have a monthly subscription. It's a low-cost monthly subscription, and you have a community of saints that are either going through what you're going through or something similar in their own life. They're going through their journey, or they've been down that road, or they're a professional that can help coach you through whatever you're going through.
That's
And so we've done like this big lotus flower approach where, like, we're
Wow.
just
You guys have covered
trying to
everything.
embrace
know.
everything.
Yes.
Everything that I wish
could have
I
been an
would have
issue.
had
Mhm.
that would have deterred me from keeping it to myself is what I
Exactly.
now feel called to provide to the people that follow me and more.
Mhm.
And so the goal is no one should steer clear of help for price, for stigma, or for unpreparedness of their leaders. That's
Mhm.
what I'm aiming to change.
I love that you're
That's-
doing that and you're answering the call.
And it's really hard
Yes.
because I already have
Yeah.
a very full life.
Yeah.
But I am okay with balancing it all and maybe shaving some things off
Yes.
To focus.
to be able to do what the Lord is entrusting me to do in this season.
Wow. We can't wait to watch you
You're
and all of
already
this
doing it.
unfold. Yes. And how can everyone watching find you?
Okay, ChristineDeClario.com is the easiest way. If
Okay.
you're an Instagrammer, at Christine DeClario. But the easiest way is ChristineDeClario.com. And we've got all the links to my social media. We've got the
yeah.
links to Soul Share Health and the
Amazing.
foundation. If you're a donor and you want to be a part of this beautiful vision and the network of amazing people that we have been assembling for a few years,
Come
hop on. We got
Join.
space for you.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing.
Christine, we love you so much.
So much.
I
we
love you
honor
too.
you, and we
Yes.
thank you for being a part of this podcast. You brought such light, such wisdom, and you're just. I want to give you your props because you are changing not just the mindset and mental health conversation
Mhm.
for the faith-based community, but also for the Latino community, which is
Yeah.
huge. What you are providing and making accessible
Yeah.
to some of these communities as well that don't even have don't even know where to start when
Yeah.
it comes to mental health and getting the help they need. So
Absolutely.
thank you so
We
much.
love you so much.
We love you.
Yeah. Keep praying for us. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, and hopefully we're able to leave a mark, a legacy mark in our generation that shifts the degrees of the church to the right direction of renewing their mind.
There's no way that this can't.
Yeah.
From your mouth
So,
to God's ears.
yeah.
Even if it's
We're-
just a
yeah,
little,
we're with you.
that
That's
is
all. I just
all
need
it needs. All
Yes.
it
A
takes.
little
You've done
shift.
your part.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely. I feel like we're gonna need a second episode.
I think so
Even-
too.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Well,
need to,
that's
because there's so
easy.
much more that we could keep
You're-
talking about.
Now your family on the podcast. We will definitely need to have you back. Maybe you guys can bring in some questions or ask us some questions and we can figure out how to make
Or
that
when
happen.
you start
Yes.
making the podcast live and weekly.
Hey, she said it.
I said it.
But for now, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to the podcast. Continue to come back. We'll have more for you. Again, maybe we do a live. We do something you guys can ask questions. But we just want to connect to you, hear your stories.
With
and hear
alcapurrias,
how
please.
we can
Yes,
help. Oh, the
with more of
alcapurrias
this.
will be here.
More of this.
Thank you to Purple Ocean. Thank you for bringing us food today. If you're in the Orlando, Central Florida area, make sure you guys check them out. But we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. Peace.